And joining us on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line as all training camps are open, my friend from the NFL Media Group, the top-notch analyst that he is, the Move the Sticks podcast co-host, Daniel Jeremiah, back here in the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. Got my first inside training camp coming up today. So 3 hours of live coverage, which I can give you a little preview as you've got plenty of experience in terms of let's go inside the production room on that one behind the scenes. Okay, we have the Chargers doing a goal line period. We've got that going. Looks like we've got the Chiefs 7-on-7. Hold up, Cowboys arrival. Take Cowboys arrival. Dak Prescott walking into the building.
I love it. I love all of it. You know what I also love, Daniel? And I don't know who's made this decision. I'll find out. But golf shirts for everybody. Now, you know what I mean? No suit, no tie, golf shirts for everybody, including Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and Mike Garafolo, and they're all inside their home cameras. They even give them golf shirts, and they're not outside. It's remarkable. What a choice!
You're talking to a man on the phone right now, Rich, who is sporting a blue polo, and he will be coming live from his home camera.
Let's smash cut to a month from now. You do that, you're in a suit and tie. No more golf shirts. I don't understand.
Yep.
You know, it's a choice.
The only thing is not wearing pants for either one. So that's the only thing you have in common.
Daniel Jeremiah, everybody. That's called a behind-the-scenes glimpse, if you will, into what's going on inside training camp. All 32 teams. Let's roll. I got to start with this one first, Daniel. You've been around the block many a time, many a moon, inside draft rooms, inside locker rooms. You've been there and you've done that, man. Have you ever heard of an independent study clause like the one that was placed in Kyler Murray's contract to make sure that he is on the up and up about studying and making sure he's ready for every single game? Have you ever heard of that, Daniel?
Never. Yeah, never. Never heard of anything even remotely close to that. It's one thing, I could see kind of that conversation of, hey, we've agreed to the contract. Before we sign it, let's just have a powwow here. We can see, we have the numbers on how little you've been studying tape off the iPad. We have all that information. We're committing to you, but hey, we need you to take this a little more seriously, put the controller down and get home, and we need you to watch some more tape, maybe like a little heart to heart, but to actually put the language inside the contract, that was wild.
Because what does that mean? What does that indicate? I was talking at the top of the show about it, Daniel, and because it indicates that what you said, the normal just going face-to-face, coach to player, management to player, and saying you've got to do more, they needed to actually codify it in black and white, and in something that is absolutely not enforceable, or you can't babysit to make sure he doesn't have second screen time like we do, Susie and I, with our children. So what does it indicate to you, Daniel, that this was put in black and white?
Well, the other side of it, and I'm sure, as you get older, you're around people, Rich, that that look incredible, and then you hang around them and they eat, just candy and crap all day long, and you're like, holy cow, you look this good while you're eating all of that? Like, what other level do you have to go to if you actually, took your nutrition seriously? Like, that's the other side of this thing I don't know anybody's talking about. Kyler Murray is a really good player. I mean, everybody would say he's a top 15 quarterback. You can go, anywhere from, probably 10 to 15 right now, I would say, in the league. He's doing that with zero study. Like, this guy's got a whole nother level if he grows into that and matures into that. Again, it's bizarre that it got into a contract, and you had to know when you put that into a contract, it was going to get out. And maybe that's something that the Cardinals wanted, just to try and apply more pressure to him in that regard. But he's been a very good quarterback, and the exciting thing, I guess, if you're a Cardinals fan, is there could be a kind of a come to Jesus moment or kind of a maturation process for him, and he could achieve a whole nother level if he actually, pulls out the iPad and looks at the upcoming opponent.
But that said, he became a top recruit out of high school, and then became a Heisman Trophy quarterback, and then became the first overall pick for a team that bounced the quarterback that they drafted the year before in the first round, all with hardly any study or, one would presume, any extra work, any nose to the grindstone off hours. So why would he change? Because now he's gotten generationally enriched with this process. Why would he change, Daniel, just because this clause came out?
I think, you talked about the individual success, Rich, but I would say the reason why you can be hopeful that there's going to be a change is because along with that individual success came, I believe, 3 state championships in high school,
yeah.
A very successful time there at Oklahoma. He hasn't won big, especially when he's gotten the bigger stages in big games later in the year. He hasn't won. So, that might be, okay, I secured the bag, I got the money based off of the way I've previously, worked. But if I want team success, if I want to kind of go good to great and take this group to the next level and start thinking about legacy at such a young age, but you've got to win big. And he's not ever going to be a championship caliber quarterback at the highest level, at this level of the NFL, without putting in some study time.
Well, and to bounce off what I also said at the top of the show with you here before we move on to another subject matter, Daniel Jeremiah, is what are the Cardinals supposed to do? Just let him go? And then the whole country wonders why they would just let him go. And the answer is, well, he didn't study. While he runs, no, seriously, while he runs and throws like crazy for another team. And so we have now reached the point in the NFL where you are paying somebody the second highest per annual salary in the NFL, and then you have to put in black and white some sort of babysitting clause. And I'm wondering, do you think it'll ever go in the other direction where a team will let somebody like Kyler Murray walk away based on, we don't think long-term it's a smart investment because he hasn't shown the maturity or the professionalism that's required for the contract?
I would say I know a lot of former coaches and former general managers who had very hardworking players with no talent. And I know a lot of current head coaches and current general managers who have a lot of very talented players with suspect work ethic. So at the end of the day, I'd rather take the talented guy who's had success and maybe, hoping that he's going to grow and evolve and become a better worker than to have the biggest bunch of try-hard guys and then, kind of go the way of Eric Mangini.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show from the NFL Media Group. Okay, so now everything's up for grabs. All 32 teams at work. Which team intrigues you the most? I asked this to Mark Schlereth yesterday, so I'll ask you as well. Which one do you think is the most intriguing, interesting team entering 2022, DJ?
Well, I think there's a lot of really intriguing teams that we've talked about for the last 3-4 months. And I don't know, maybe I'm just sick of talking about all those teams for all the, kind of the drama we've had. I started looking at it the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to identify the teams that I have not heard one word the entire offseason about. And I think the team that was number one on my list was the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
And that's why I love the NFL, because there's so many great stories there, with Kevin O'Connell coming in there. He pledges allegiance to Kirk Cousins, as everybody from the Sean McVay tree is supposed to do. They've got talent on the defensive side of the ball. They've got Dalvin Cook. They've got maybe the best young receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. So this is a team that could be a double-digit win team. Could make a little bit of a run in the playoffs, and we've heard bupkis about them the entire offseason. So the stories like that, how they get going, how Kirk Cousins does with a coach who 100% believes in him, which I think we would all agree he didn't have the last few years.
Are we sure that Kevin O'Connell does, in fact, 100% believe in him? Are we sure of that?
Yes, you're not allowed to work for Sean McVay unless you sign a contract that says Kirk Cousins is my favorite player in the NFL.
Put more bean on those bones, Daniel. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, they were all together, and they all love Kirk, because Kirk, you can kind of play quarterback from the sideline through Kirk because he's incredibly smart. And you can get to the line of scrimmage and kind of tell him what's happening, and he's going to do it exactly like you say you want it done. So those guys were all together kind of in Washington. McVay was there during that time. McVay loved him. You know, Shanahan, there was all that talk when Kyle Shanahan wanted to get him to San Francisco. So that whole tree is just has always had an affinity for Kirk Cousins.
Okay. So what does it look like in the best case scenario? What do you got for me here?
I think I think they got a really good shot at being a playoff team. You know, I think Green Bay is going to be the obvious pick in that division.
Sure.
But if you were saying what could be kind of the upset division winner, I would go with the Minnesota Vikings. And again, this is the first conversation on a national show about the Minnesota Vikings the entire offseason. I'm quite certain.
Well, there have been a lot of other interesting stories to hit, so maybe that's part of it. What about an AFC team that might be intriguing to you that hardly anybody's talking about? I've got one that people have been talking about, but I've got the Miami Dolphins is fascinating to me because of Tyreek Hill talking up Tua for the Heisman and Mike McDaniel coming in, a lot of track meet type players there. Defensively has been a strong suit for them prior to Brian Flores' departure. What do you think?
No, I think that's a dangerous team, and it's a there's that division there's been a lot discussed there with Buffalo kind of almost being the favorite here in the AFC as we come into the season. You've got New England and all the talk about Mac Jones taking the next step, and he's in great shape. But when you look at, and obviously your Jets with all the moves they made, but the Dolphins, that's a dynamic group, and it's you hate to say it's all on the quarterback, but it kind of feels that way. They're going to be solid in just about every department, and it's a matter of whether or not Tua can elevate. If he can elevate, again, this is another team that's got double-digit win potential because they're as explosive as any team in the league right now.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. A dramatic improvement is what Bill Belichick said in relation to Mac Jones this offseason. Trey Lance, it's now his gig. We saw what the Jets added for Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence, again, has Doug Peterson now and not Urban Meyer at his side, and we all know Justin Fields has a challenge in front of him. That said, which second-year quarterback do you think is going to take the biggest leap this year, Daniel?
Well, I'll say Trey Lance just because, he's not starting from the ground, right? We didn't get a chance to see him very much last year. And you get to a place where they have a good offensive line. They have great weapons around him, and he's got, if not the best play caller in the NFL, top 2, 3 in Kyle Shanahan in terms of putting him in a position to be successful. It's going to look a little different. He's not going to play the position the same way that Garoppolo played it. But all that stuff that we were so fired up at the draft when he got picked about all the creativity in the run game that he could bring, that group, I'm hoping we get to see all that. But last year when he got in there, I felt like they kind of just ran the offense as is. I'm hoping, as he kind of comes in and he's the guy, that it becomes a little more catered to his skill set and we can really see the creativity and have some fun with Kyle Shanahan.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what do you think of the Cowboys entering this season, Daniel? We're going to be so Dallas-centric throughout the year, but now that Oxnard is open for business, what do you got for me on Dallas?
Well, there's definitely stars, as Jerry Jones loves having, stars not on the helmet, but on the field as well. I'm actually, when I look at their group and I look at Dak coming back and be another year removed from the injury, I think he has a big year. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to enter into that kind of DeAndre Hopkins conversation that we had a few years ago where it's just like there's nothing you can do to slow him down. I think his targets go way up. I think he could have just a monster year as more of the offense gets funneled through him. They need the offensive line to stay healthy. There's no secret there. That's been kind of the bugaboo. But defensively, I think they've got a lot of depth, and they've got, again, stars and playmakers. So I still think they're the team in that division. I know everybody kind of gets Cowboys fatigue and kind of goes against them when you talk about this, preseason prognostications. But I just still think they're easily the best team in that division.
You think? I don't know why I'm constantly leaning towards Philadelphia.
Everybody's jumping off.
Well, I just think that they're not as good as they were last year, and we saw what happened with them last year. And Mike McCarthy could call his job status a media-driven narrative as much as he wants, as he did today. But, Jerry Jones is the one who put out there why Dan Quinn is staying, because every coordinator knows as long as they stay as a Dallas Cowboy coordinator, they got a shot at the main gig, which is what he said at the Senior Bowl. He said that on his own website at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. Daniel, that may have been born out of recency. I get not biased, but he was upset about losing in the playoffs I don't know. I just like Philadelphia a lot. I like what they've added, and I like those Georgia Bulldogs on the front and second level. I don't know how healthy Nakobe Dean's going to be, but and I believe in Hurts. That's why I'll lay that out at your feet there, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be better. I don't think the Eagles beat many good teams last year, and there's no way around it. They fought and earned their way to the success that they had. I just come down to it at this point in time. I like Jalen. I think Jalen's going to be somebody that continues to grow and get better. I just think right now there's still a pretty sizable gap between him and Dak. So I'll give the Cowboys the edge there. I love A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They've got some weapons there. They've got a good offensive line. They've got some depth on that defensive line. I don't doubt the fact that you'll see a better version of the Eagles. I just think the continuity that the Cowboys have there, the offensive coordinator spot and the quarterback spot, and the quarterback being a little bit healthier than he was last year, I think the Cowboys end up winning that division.
And last one for you, Daniel Jeremiah, the AFC West. You are calling games for the Los Angeles Chargers again. You are intimately knowledgeable of this division and everything that goes on within it. Toughest division in football. I think that's obvious. How do you see it sussing out? How do you see it shaking out?
I think it's going to be one of those years where we have so much talk about this division coming into the season, and they can't all win 14 games. So I think they could beat up on each other, and all the kind of everybody's expecting we're just going to get 3 playoff teams out of this division. It could end up being one of those years where 10, 11 wins gets it done, because every single one of those games is going to be competitive and it's going to be taxing. So not only do you have kind of the emotion and then the quality of opponent that goes into these matchups, a bunch of them are going prime time as well. And then you've got to turn around and get right back up the next week. I think there might be a little bit of a price to pay there. So I think it's easily the best division in the NFL. I think they're going to beat up on each other, and I think it could be one of those deals where at the end of the regular season we say, man, I thought we'd have a 13, 14 win team, and we don't have that. And then that 10, 11 win team gets into the postseason and they're healthy and fresh and beat the brakes off everybody else.
So who do you think's got the best roster, top to bottom, going in?
I mean, I always preface it. I work there, but I think the Chargers have the best roster, 1 to 53, in that entire division. It's just a matter of them being able to finish games and keep their key guys healthy. And I think Kansas City, I do think you'll see a little bit of a find your sea legs with them early in the season, but Andy's going to figure it out, and Pat will figure it out, and they'll be playing their best football as you come down the stretch. But I mean, who's finishing under 500 in this division? That's the challenge. You figure that somehow somebody's going to fall off there, but it's going to be fun to watch. I know that. I can't wait for those division games.
Yeah, Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes were 2 of the 6 quarterbacks that wound up in the Tier 1 category of the athletic story that Mike Sando put together with 50 evaluators and coaches and general managers in the league. Did you agree with that list of the 6 top Tier 1 QBs, and Burrow and Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, along with Mahomes and Herbert, rounding out those 6? Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can argue about maybe the order within those guys, but to me, those are kind of those guys. Russell Wilson, prior to last year, I'd say probably gets his way in there. There's obviously the Deshaun Watson ones. I don't know how you stack him in there. Where do you place him? Mm-hmm. But as a player, when he's on the field, Rich, he belongs up there in that conversation. But again, that's a tricky one. How you sort through all that stuff. I think Lamar is maybe you could push him up a couple spots. I know that's the one that everybody's going to always point to when these lists come out, and kind of the disrespect, and I get all that. But if you just said me personally, I would take to go play a season this upcoming season, I would take those Tier 1 quarterbacks in maybe a slightly different order, but that I could get on board with that group.
Well, Daniel, I appreciate the time. I'm ready to roll. I'm tanned. I'm rested. I don't know how you are coming off the summer.
Oh, I know you are. I've been vicariously living through your vacation photos.
Thank you.
That was quite a trip.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I told Chris Brockman, who was very, very negative, shocked the world about it, saying that there were people who even responded on my Instagram saying, thank you for posting these pictures.
Nobody
because
said that.
No
you
question.
You were absolutely making that up. Nobody said thank you.
Swear to you
for spamming their feed with 8,000 pictures of noodles every day.
Well, Daniel is one of those people, right?
He's being polite.
No, you're not, Daniel. You're an evaluator. You're the eye in the sky. You don't lie.
No, I would never steer you wrong on that. I have very high taste when it comes to social media.
What do you think? What is I'm wearing the hat right now. What's your evaluation of it? Seriously, your actual evaluation of the lid.
Two things. Number one, you pull it off. It looks good.
Thank you.
And number two, I'm just slightly concerned that the first wrong prediction you make during the season that your face is going to melt off.
Bella. No, I close my eyes when I guess, So that's how I survive. I close my eyes.
You chose.
All right. So the evaluation is it's a keeper, right? That's your evaluation of it?
Absolutely. I just feel like if Tom Landry were still alive, that would be his hat of choice.
Thank you.
It's a little more updated and a little more current, but yet, still it provides a sophisticated, elegant look. Yep. I like it.
And the mango smoothie to go along with it. Thank you so much, Daniel. Wow. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the time. We'll chat again shortly. See you soon.
I appreciate it, Rich. Go get your wood tip cigarette and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks here on The Rich Eisen Show.